Poetry and patterns. Poems have the right words in order. So, dapat systematized siya. Dapat all the words in the poem should be connected to one another. And dapat may sense siya. It should have coherence kapag binasa natin. And most of all, it should be a mark of storytelling, our own storytelling, na dapat sequential siya. Like in math, ang poem may sariling pattern and order yan. Here are some very, very popular poets. William Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, Jane Austen, and of course, our very own Jose Rizal. The common denominator of which are very famous with their own literary techniques, and they've actually captured so many audiences with their different themes. Just like us Filipinos. We Filipinos are actually natural poets. We are very fluent with rhymes and season. Sa rhymes kasi, it's more of we're used to the traditional standard that pag sinabihan tayong, oh, rhymes, poems, whatever pops up in our head when we say poems, we always make it a point na dapat everything should be in rhymes. But in another part, very seasonal ang poems. Shakespeare also used techniques to show when is summer, when is fall, when is winter, all seasons, even if it's a hot day, even if it's Christmas, if it's New Year, you would actually read it in the text and use those literary devices that support it. However, there are also bigger themes when you say season. Season such that it also focuses on a timeline. The season where the EDSA revolution has emerged. The oppression of women and the Filipino people. The voice of the farmers. The student activists. The children, the poor. The hungry. Our Philippine history. That is the season that we should also consider. How about poetry that is concerned with not using techniques of rhyming? Do you guys think that this is possible? Well, yes. This is actually Asian pride. And this is called a haiku. What is a haiku? For sure, most of you are familiar with this one in junior high school, senior, or even in your English literature classes. Haiku is a traditional form of Japanese poetry. A 5-7-5 syllable with strictly 3 lines with a total of 17 syllables. It doesn't necessarily need to rhyme. It has to be connecting. It has to be relevant, like what I said earlier. And most of all, what makes this poetry a standout is its standard. Honestly, it's challenging to have a mathematical pattern of following a 5-7-5 syllable. Dapat, laging 5 ang first line, second, 7 syllables for the second line, and thirdly, the third line should always be 5 syllables as well. Well, if you notice, the meme that I have placed here in my presentation is actually a haiku. Let's slowly read it. What if I told you 5 syllables? You can create a haiku. 7 syllables. By using this meme, another 5 syllables. So this is actually a haiku. Unlike other poems, it's very short, and when we have one verse of a poem, it always has 4 lines, but this makes it a standout because it's only using 3 lines. Next, oh, one of my favorites, shape poetry. Yet, it's still poetry, but what makes it very popular, actually, it's a literary technique used by most poets and artists, is that you use the shape of your subject, of what you're describing. Just look at the sample poem here. A triangle. Actually, we are just creating a poem of a triangle here. But visually, we already know that it's shaped as a triangle. So in that sense, we can see the relevance of math, shapes, and patterns as a representative or even a literary technique that can represent the mood and the atmosphere of the overall poem's intention. This triangle is actually a unique poem, not just because of the words or how it was used with some metaphors, because actually it was just descriptive, but it actually is just unique because of its shape. And that's how math is very relevant when it comes to patterns. Just like a while ago, there are so many. So, just like in the haiku, where actually, so the first two that I have discussed, again, a haiku, if you'll ask me again, why on earth is this related to math? Let's go back to haiku. A 5-7-5 syllable is actually a pattern. In math, we follow. So this shape poetry actually follows a pattern. So this shape poetry actually follows a pattern. Life is painting a picture, not doing a sum. Well, this is still a pattern poetry. But let's check. Is it a haiku? No. Sa una pa lang, it should be 3 lines and the syllables are very obvious. And it is not a shape or concrete poetry because it does not actually depict a picture or representation of showing what it is. Now, let us discover what this mathematical pattern is. So I actually syllabicated the given poem. Life is painting a picture, not doing a sum. Again, this is not shape poetry, and again, this is not a haiku. Let's find it out and syllabicate it first. Since I actually syllabicated from all words in the poem. Life, there is only 1 syllable. Is 1 syllable. Painting, 2 syllables. A picture, 3 syllables. Not doing a sum, 5 syllables. So we're already given with its syllabicated form. This is called the Fibonacci poem. How was it so? This is the Fibonacci poem if we do it this way. Life is. Life has one syllable. Add it to is with one syllable is equal to 2. So 1 plus 1 is equal to the succeeding number of syllables of this line. Again, 1 for is, 2 syllables for painting. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. The process continues. Painting a picture. 2 syllables plus 3 syllables is equal to 5. If we assume another syllable, even though it's not given here, 3 plus 5, a picture, not doing a sum. You combine it and have 8 syllables. That's simple. Now, I'll explain it thoroughly. Making it diagonal, let's make this talaga into a Pascal square triangle. So 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1, 6, 15, 20, 15, 6, 1, 21, 35, 35, 21, 7, 1, 28, 56, 70, 56, 28, 8, 1. Okay, let's now check it diagonally. 1 plus 1. Check if this pattern is correct. Assumingly, gusto lang natin siya i-double check. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 1 plus 3 plus 1 equal to 5. 1 plus 4 plus 3. 1 plus 4 plus 3 is equal to 8. 1 plus 5 plus 6 plus 1 is equal to 13. And so on and so forth. So, ganyan yung process niya. So, ibig sabihin, may relationship ang Fibonacci and the Pascal triangle. So, kapag inad siya, dapat... Hi, to conclude, math really has a big role in literature and poetry, to be specific. I think that math has a pivotal role, especially in patterns, in creating your own representation, and all that. Just like in making the haiku, the 575 syllabus, that standard is actually a mathematical idea, because you are actually creating a logical pattern in which you still use and apply the concepts of math. Next would be shape poetry. You're using shapes, designs, geometric figures in order to create a design based on math. It's not just geometry, actually, any other thing. You're combining objects, words, phrases in order to make a picture, which is actually the subject of the poem. And lastly, I think the one I said last was the Fibonacci, something like that. Fibonacci. It was specifically focused on a very beautiful pattern where syllables, yung ina-add sila. Yung 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, then the next syllable, the next syllable. You can actually predict the syllable because there's a logical pattern you're actually following. And the beauty of math is that you really can't see it here. You can actually absorb of how it's being applied.